A new beginning. William Thatcher began his story in the dirt and shadow of another man's armor. He grew up in Cheapside, the son of a poor roofer who dreamed his son could reach higher than his own lowly station. That dream grew inside William like the seed of an oak, something that refused to wither, even when life told him that people like him should always bow their heads to those with noble blood. For years, William served Sir Ector as a squire. He cleaned armor, carried shields, fetched water, and stood close enough to tournaments that he could feel the ground shake when horses thundered past. He watched men with banners on their lances tilt for glory while he remained a servant. When Sir Ector died suddenly during a competition, William stared at the lifeless body of the man who had been his master, and also the bridge to the world he wanted. There was still one more tilt left in the match, one more pass that would bring prize money to buy food and maybe a pint of ale. Driven by hunger and the feeling that life might never give him another chance, William pulled on Ector's armor while his friends Roland and Wat protested. The weight of the helmet felt heavy. It felt like responsibility, like risk, like everything he wished he could be. With trembling hands, he mounted the horse, rode into the lists, and finished the final pass. The crowd cheered for Sir Ector, not knowing the truth. And in that moment, when the cheers washed over him, William felt the first real taste of what changing his stars might be like. He wanted more, and he knew there was no turning back. A night is made. After that stolen victory, William could not return to his old life. The money he won gave him food for the moment, but not enough to satisfy what had awakened inside him. Roland and Wat wanted to take their share and go home, but William argued that they could enter more tournaments, win real prizes, and make a living this way. With sheer stubbornness, he convinced them that their lives could be more than scraping by and waiting for something to happen to them. On the road to their next tournament, they meet Geoffrey Chaucer, a clever but penniless writer who was walking naked across the countryside after losing everything to his vice: gambling. William saw opportunity. Chaucer saw the same. They struck a deal. Chaucer would forge papers of noble birth, creating a new identity strong enough to fool the world. And so, William Thatcher, son of a Thatcher, became Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein of Gelderland, a name that felt both foreign and powerful on the tongue. With Roland and Wat as his support and Chaucer as his herald, William entered the noble lists for the second time, both times under a name not his own. The tournaments were loud storms of mettle and pride, and William discovered talent in himself he had only guessed at. His aim grew more precise, his balance steadier. In each tilt, he rode not just against opponents, but against the invisible chains of his birth. Yet nothing came easy, and William soon learned that a knight's life meant danger, debts, and expectations. Chaucer's gambling nearly ruined them, but William stepped in and covered what was owed, keeping his promise and securing the loyalty of his herald. With every ride and every crowd cheering the name Ulrich, William stepped further away from the life of a squire and closer to the dream he had carried since childhood. And still, the real test of identity had yet to come. Allies and rivals. The tournaments taught William many things, but nothing tested him more than meeting Kate, a blacksmith whose skill exceeded every man in her trade. His armor grew weak and loose with each battle, and when he asked for repairs without payment, Kate agreed to help, just to prove to the other smiths that she could do it. Her work was clever and light, shaping metal into a second skin that fit William better than anything he had worn before. She became part of his traveling family, forging not only armor but bonds. Yet success brought complications. During one competition, William faced a knight named Sir Thomas Colville and struck him hard enough to wound him. But rather than forcing him to yield, William agreed to complete the ritual ride so Colville could keep his honor. That choice earned William respect, especially from a noble lady named Jocelyn, whose presence stirred feelings in him stronger than the rush of battle. It also drew the attention of Count Adhemar of Anjou, a seasoned knight with experience, noble blood, and pride bigger than England itself. Adhemar saw William as a challenge to crush, not because of who he was, but because of the way he rode, fearless, hungry, unwilling to bow. Adhemar defeated William in one tournament, knocked his helmet clean off, and whispered words that cut deeper than any lance. "You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting." William felt the sting, but he also felt the determination inside him become absolute. Every victory, every defeat, every tilt against Adhemar shaped him. And through it all, Jocelyn watched him with quiet curiosity, seeing something real in him, even though he hid behind a false name. Love and challenges. As William traveled across England and France, fame followed the name Ulrich. Crowds shouted for him, and bards sang of his victories. But the path to knighthood was never smooth. Jocelyn tested his heart by asking him to lose matches to show love rather than promises of triumph. William, carrying both pride and affection, obeyed her request, losing pass after pass until she told him to win again. Their bond deepened without a single word spoken about his true birth, while Ademar's jealousy grew ever so large. In one tournament, both William and Ademar learned the truth about Sir Thomas Colville, that he was actually Prince Edward, heir to the throne, fighting under a hidden name to feel the thrill of competition, rather than the boredom of a spectator. Ademar withdrew at once to avoid the risk of harming royalty, but William stayed and completed the ride. Facing Edward without fear showed William's heart more clearly than any forged document. The prince saw it too. Respect grew between them, something deeper than words, something built on shared understanding of honor and bravery. Meanwhile, William's companions risked their money again, confident in his ability to win everything in France. And he did, proving not only skill but loyalty to Jocelyn and dignity to Edward. Still, every victory made the lie of Ulrich heavier. William's dream grew larger, but so did the costs. He had everything to lose, especially his hidden truth, and he could feel the weight of that secret pushing against the door of his new life. Home and truth. The journey eventually led William back to London, the city of his childhood, the place where his father once lifted him so he could better see the passing nights. The streets felt smaller than his memories, yet they carried warmth that never left his soul. William expected his father to be gone, but a young girl told him that his father still lived, now blind but still alive. His heart raced as he walked through familiar alleys and knocked on a door he thought he would never see again. William spoke first as Ulrich, delivering a message from William to his father, saying that he changed his stars after all. In that moment, his father recognized his voice, and William let the truth spill from his heart. They embraced, holding years of distance between their arms, and talked through hours that passed too quickly. But this joy would not last long. Ademar returned from the war and learned William's secret from a loose tongue outside the house. Driven by rivalry and envy, Ademar turns him in to the tournament authorities. Guards came and dragged William away. His friends had begged him to flee. Jocelyn offered to run with him, but William refused. He would not leave. Knights do not run. He chose honor, even if he loses everything. Mocked by crowds, William stood in the stocks, facing humiliation that struck him to the core of his being. But Roland, Wat, Kate, and Chaucer stood by him in a circle of loyalty. Their love formed a shield, and William understood that the journey had given him something stronger than titles. Friends who shared his dream, even when the world tried to break it. The true knight. Prince Edward emerged from the crowd and silenced every voice with a single look. He understood William's honor, courage, and the devotion of his companions. Instead of punishment, Edward knelt to William and declared that ancient genealogies proved his noble blood, granting him a true knighthood with words no one could challenge. With that moment, William Thatcher became Sir William, not because of forged papers, but because of his actions. Ademar waited for him in the lists, now with marriage plans for Jocelyn, and sharpened lances meant to harm rather than compete. The first pass struck deep into William's shoulder, leaving him breathless and bleeding. He removed his armor to breathe and demanded that the lance be strapped tight to his arm, since he could no longer hold it on his own. Chaucer distracted the crowd with a herald's speech that rolled like poetry, giving William time to steady himself. Jocelyn and his father watched from the stands, eyes full of fear and belief. With pain burning through his arm and shoulder, William mounted the horse again, wearing simple clothes instead of armor. He charged toward Ademar, shouting the name he once hid his own true name, as if breaking the last wall holding him back. The collision sent Ademar flying from his horse, defeated and stripped of pride. William won the championship, not by pretending to be Ulrich, but by being William, the boy who once dreamed of changing his stars. In the roar of the crowd, Jocelyn ran to him, and they kissed while the cheers echoed like a promise fulfilled. Stars changed. When the crowd chanted William's name, the sound felt different from every cheer he had heard before. No mask, no false title stood between him and the world. He looked around and saw Roland smiling with pride, Wat crying without shame, Kate wiping her eyes with hands stained by metal, and Chaucer already thinking of how to turn the story into words that might live for ages. The dust of the arena rose like golden mist, and for a moment time paused, as if the world itself honored what William had become. Adhemar was carried away, forced to face a defeat deeper than bruises. Jocelyn held William's hands, and the warmth between them said more than promises. The friends gathered later in a quiet space, laughing and arguing as always, knowing their journey had changed forever. They no longer traveled behind a forged name, and no one could take this victory from William because it was earned with sacrifice, love, loyalty, and pain. In simple clothes, free of armor, William felt lighter than metal could ever allow. The night sky above London glowed with stars, like tiny lanterns burning through the dark, and somewhere inside himself, William felt he was finally equal to their light. He had reached the height he dreamed of as a boy, and though the next days would bring new challenges, nothing could remove the fact that he had changed the story written for him at birth. The future stretched wide before him, bright, uncertain, and filled with possibilities for a knight born from a peasant's dream. Analysis. A Knight's Tale mixes medieval history, modern attitude, and timeless human emotion to tell a story that is bigger than jousting or tournaments. At its heart, the film is about identity, ambition, and how far someone will go to rewrite the circumstances of their birth. William Thatcher, a peasant with nothing but determination, becomes the center of a world where status is everything. His journey reflects a simple but powerful belief: a person's beginning does not have to define their end. This theme is repeated throughout the film, not only in William's actions, but also in the characters surrounding him, each carrying their own struggle with who they are and who they want to be. William's decision to take his master's armor and finish the match begins as an act of survival, but it quickly turns into something more. He tastes victory, not just the prize money, and with it awakens a desire to change his stars. This phrase becomes the emotional core of the story. It represents hope against the weight of tradition and class. When William seeks forged papers from Chaucer, it is not just a lie to enter tournaments, it is a lie that lets him build a new version of himself. The audience sees that William's talent and spirit could have made him a knight if he had been born into a different house, which makes his struggle feel justified even when his actions bend the rules. The film also shows the cost of ambition. William must constantly hide his past, and each victory brings the risk of exposure. When his true origins are revealed, the consequences are devastating, not just because he could lose his place in the tournament, but because he fears disappointing those who believe in him. Pretending to be a knight in medieval times was a serious offense. The most extreme punishment would be imprisonment, mutilation, or death. In the movie, his punishment was just public humiliation. Yet the people around him, Roland, Wat, Kate, and Chaucer, never abandon him. Their loyalty proves that nobility comes from character, not blood. Even Prince Edward recognizes William's honor and grants him a real knighthood, showing that true greatness does not depend on lineage alone. Edward's support becomes a turning point, bridging the gap between birthright and merit. Love also plays a role in William's growth, though not in a typical romantic way. Jocelyn challenges William to prove love through sacrifice, first by losing for her, then, later, by winning again. These requests force William to think about what matters more: glory, pride, or the feelings of someone he cares about. Through her, William learns that even his dreams must be balanced with humility and understanding. The rivalry with Count Adhemar highlights the film's view of honor. Adhemar plays by the rules when it benefits him, but cheats when he fears defeat. William, though born low, follows a personal code that remains steady, even in hardship. When William finally defeats Adhemar, the moment feels earned not only through strength, but through perseverance and moral growth. In the end, A Knight's Tale becomes more than a medieval sports story. It is a reminder that dreams matter, effort matters, and character matters most of all. William Thatcher does not just win a tournament, he wins the right to define himself.